Good morning again. Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us on site and online. My name is Elaine. I'm part of the oversight team here at New Life Church. Usually have the awesome privilege of hanging out with the young people on a Sunday morning. We're all here together this morning. You're very, very welcome, and welcome especially to Chris and Ashley, who are our special sofa guests this morning. As Sam said before the break, this is the third in our series of summer stories, which has been so encouraging and so inspiring, just really helpful as well, just to hear how a decision to follow Jesus kind of works out in a person's life or in people's lives. So thank you very much for joining us here this morning. First question then. So how long have you been here at NLC?
That is actually quite a strange question. We've been here since last March, which is just before the lockdown. So we were kind of here for 2 weeks, and then we kind of weren't here. Yeah. So that's how long we've been here, but in a funny sort of way. Okay. I don't think.
Yeah, probably wasn't the best time to join a new church, sort of with lockdown and not being able to meet in person. But the Zoom events and Fuse Group and such like has been great, and we've got to meet people really well over that 18 months, which is strange to think of it that way, but it's actually worked out really well.
I wondered what made you stay when you came just before lockdown. I wonder if you could pick out.
Been a bit sad if we'd left after 2 weeks, wouldn't it?
It kind of would, yes.
It was a long time coming before we actually made the move from our previous church.
Okay.
We took a couple of years or more even over making that decision, and we were looking around thinking, okay, we leave that church. Where do we go? Where are we going? Where would our next home be? And we liked the look of New Life Church. Chris knew a few more people here than I did, yourself included, of course. And when we came along, we found it a really friendly, welcoming church. I like the ethos of the church particularly, or we like the ethos of the church particularly, and decided this was the right place for us to be.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And if you're just joining us online at the moment, then we are a friendly, welcoming church. So you're very welcome on site when you feel ready to make that step to joining us in person as well. So great. Thank you very much. So we can get to know Chris and Ashley a little bit better. I have a basket of dice in here, and each of them has a question on it. So just a little bit of fun to start off with. All right, Ashley, what's your favourite colour? Pink, blue, red, green, orange? What are you up for?
Red.
Red. Okay, red. Here we go. What is your happiest memory? Well, you have to be careful sitting next to your wife there. Awkward moment.
I've got so many happy memories.
Yes.
I'm very fortunate. I've been blessed in that way. I've got to say my marriage, haven't I?
Of course you have.
I've got to say wedding day. That's got to be the happiest day to start with.
Yes.
Yep, Chris is nodding. I think safe birth of 3 children. That's really happy memories. And 5 grandchildren. So really blessed in all those. So all those are really happy memories. They would be a job to beat.
Okay, lovely. What about you, Chris? Happiest memories?
Happiest memories. Looking back on lots of lovely things that my parents did for me and my brother as we were growing up, places we went to. I grew up in Letchworth, so kind of revisiting some of those places now with my grandchildren that Mum and Dad took us to. And they've changed so much, like, for example, William Pond, that used to be an overgrown sort of secretive wilderness. And now it's quite manicured. Just the sort of simple, loving things family did together. Those are really happy memories for me. Yeah.
And I'm just noticing there's a theme coming out as you're speaking. In fact, you say family a lot, both of you. So maybe we'll touch on that when we talk a bit more in a minute. Okay. All right then. Chris, your turn.
Okay.
What colour are you going for? Orange.
Please.
Lovely colour. Oh, I'm going to change that one. I'm going to give you the option to pass. Okay. Here we go. An orange one. Okay. Name a time when you were embarrassed. You can pass, and I'll shake the dice again if you don't want to own up to a time when you're embarrassed.
We talked about this beforehand, and nothing particularly springs to mind for me. But if you asked Ashley when I was an embarrassment, that might be closer to the mark. Quite often, I think.
Are we going to share that story, or shall I move on?
What do you want to say?
I can tell you a time when I've been embarrassed.
Okay, it's up to you, Ashley. You're amongst friends, but you might want a different question.
I can think of, there's one occasion I used to play rugby for Letchworth. Not a regular first team player, but steady second team player. And we won the Hearts Presidents Cup one year, and that meant we got through to the next round, and we had to go and play United Services Portsmouth, who were rather renowned for being quite a brutal team. A number of the first team players weren't available for that game. I can't think why. And so I was drafted in as a substitute, travelling substitute. We took 5 substitutes down for the game. Anyway, it wasn't very long into the first half before we'd already lost 2 players to injury. And a third player got injured who actually was playing in my position. So there was I starting to warm up on the side of the pitch, only to be told, you're only allowed 2 substitutes. So my nickname in the club from there on was Super Sub.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so you've been part of a fused group since you've joined us at New Life. You've been leading a fused group on a Thursday. And just to remind us in the room and at home, if you're listening, our fused groups are our midweek small groups. Obviously, there's a lot of us here on a Sunday, but a fused group, the word fused means connected, but also connected for safety, is a way at New Life that we organise ourselves and get together midweek in a small group. And it means that you can get to know each other a little bit better than you can do, obviously, in a bigger crowd that there is on a Sunday. And I was just wondering if you could say a little bit about what the fused group experience has been like for you both as you've joined New Life. What's been good about it?
I think it's been essential for us. We decided when we arrived at New Life, when we went into lockdown, that the only way we were going to get connected was to pitch in with all the Zoom things. Now, you may not believe this, but actually I don't like all eyes on me. So to be sitting on a Zoom screen with people I'd never met before, I found it really, really hard. And I didn't say very much to start with for quite a long time. But yeah, we pitched in, and of course it's got easier. And I can look around here and think I've got some really good friends, and that's only because we've Zoomed and got, really pitched in with the fused group. So we were participants, obviously, for a long time, and then stepped up a bit. And we've met different people because the clientele in the group has changed. So we've got to know more and more people. And just to be able to be honest about the little mundane things in life, but they're the things that make us anxious or we get bogged down in. Or the happy things, a baby's on the way or something like that, It's life, isn't it? And it's just been lovely to be part of such a caring, really caring, thoughtful group with a group of people. It's been lovely.
Fantastic. Would you add anything to that, Ashley?
Yeah, we've been involved with house groups and such like over a number of years, large number of years, and leading house groups. And sometimes when I've been leading a house group on the day of the house group, I've felt, why am I doing this? It's such an effort. It's such hard work. I really wish we hadn't got group tonight. I could really do with doing something else. Mm-hmm. By the end of the group, I've been really blessed. And so being part of the fused group here has been a real blessing, as Chris has said. Mm. And sometimes you have to make that bit of effort, but you get the blessing. Mm. And it's good to remember the blessings of the past to actually encourage you to keep on going with those things. But over the last 18 months with lockdown and such like, the fused group has been, as Chris has said, absolutely key to us being part of the church.
Fantastic. And just to say that invitation to fuse groups, being part of a fuse group, is open to everybody watching this morning, whether you're doing it in real time or on catch up. We're taking a break over the summer, but they'll start again in September. So please do look out for details of those. It would be lovely to connect with you as part of a fuse group come the autumn. Already feels like autumn today a little bit, doesn't it? Okay, let's move our conversation on a little bit then. Chris, I'm going to start with you, and I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about why and when you first made a decision to follow Jesus. Can you tell us about that, please?
There's a very distinctive before and after for me, but I'm going to pitch in the middle. So Ashley and I had been married just over a year. I'm trained as a teacher, so I was teaching somewhere other than here. We were getting married, so I needed a job back up here. And I went for an interview at a Christian girls' boarding school, which no longer exists, but was quite close to here, called Clarendon. And I had an interview with the headmistress, who was about to retire. But she was a very, very insightful Christian lady, because she asked me a key question: was I a Christian? So my answer was, I'd been baptised, been christened. I sometimes went to Sunday school. I was confirmed. To me, I was a Christian. She didn't comment any further than that. But amazingly, I was given the job at this school, which only employed teachers who were Christians. She actually must have seen through, or she knew, I'll tell you a bit more in a minute, that I wasn't a Christian, though, because what I came to realise was that those things didn't make me a Christian. They were more like, I think it was the British culture. I just thought because of those things, I was a Christian. So my journey didn't take very long. It was about a year of being part of that school community. And all the staff, their lives looked so different to the lives of anybody else I experienced. They were so thoughtful, so caring towards the girls and each other. And I experienced, as a form teacher, every time we had to discuss each child at the end of term for their report, I used to have to go into the headmistress, and she said, before we're doing anything else, I want to pray about this child and pray what we're going to discuss. Every week we had staff meetings, and the same thing started every staff meeting. And I thought, this is not what I thought Christianity was all about.
Right.
And so I started to see that they all had a relationship with this person, Jesus, that they were showing so powerfully in the way they were acting with one another and with the children and with me. And I really wanted to be like them. I wanted more and more of whatever made them tick. And I suppose the more I wanted that, the more I realised my life, although I had so many good things, it was a bit empty and meaningless in comparison. And it was really very focused on me. Really was. So it took about a year and lots of little steps along the way, but I eventually decided that I wanted to find out more and follow Jesus. And so that's what I did. And that was the big change in my life. I found out what a Christian wasn't and what a Christian was. And I stepped over that line, really. And then it's been a journey of discovery ever since.
That's wonderful. That's really powerful and helpful for you to explain to us the difference between what we might think a Christian is or following Jesus is to what you've discovered it is, which you said really powerfully is a relationship with God himself. So I wonder, Ashley, was it similar for you? Is your story a similar one?
I'm not sure if it was similar. That led to a very difficult time in our lives, in our marriage, for a number of years. I was very anti-Christian at that time. I believed in a God, but I didn't know what that God was. I didn't believe in evolution and such like. I just thought, no, there has to be a superior power that's put all this in place. When Chris became a Christian, I was angry. I felt like there was a third person in our lives that wasn't welcome. And I wouldn't allow Chris any Christian books in the house or to play any Christian music. Church on a Sunday was permitted, and literally that was it. And it continued like that for a number of years. And then there were some events that, quite a long story, but caused me to actually want to look at what being a Christian was, at what being a follower of Jesus was. So I talked with the pastor at Chris's church, and had some discussions and meetings with him, and he gave me a Bible, and I went away and I bought a series of Bible notes, cover to cover, that set out the Bible in chronological order, and you're supposed to get through it in a year. It took me a bit longer than that, but anyway, I read through the Bible and discovered it all made sense. I had originally thought that it was written as a novel, that somebody had sat down and written it. I learned that no, actually, there's a number of different authors, but I could, in reading through it, and particularly reading through it chronologically, I could see this whole train of events and everything, and every story in it leading to Jesus. And it just made such perfect sense. So having then realized the truth of it, you have to do something with that.
Right.
And so I wanted to become a Christian at that point, but I was nervous of doing it, nervous of making a commitment. I'd had lots of various hobbies and things I liked doing that would last for 3 or 4 years, and then I'd move on to something else. And I was worried at the time that if I made this commitment, that it would only last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And I realized it was actually a more significant commitment than that, because I knew then what the truth was, and was I prepared to accept that as the truth and commit myself to the truth? Or was it just something I parked and walked away from? This was over a 4 or 5 year period. This wasn't just a quick thing. So then 3 days before our third son was born, I made a commitment. And that was in 1989.
Wonderful. Thank you for being honest about that. And I wonder how that was for you, Chris, that you'd become a Christian, become a follower of Jesus, and then obviously, as Ashley's very powerfully explained to us, that actually caused a problem in your young marriage. That must have been quite a tough time, I can imagine.
It was horrible.
Yes, yeah.
It really was horrible. But I suppose ultimately Jesus had got me, because in any other scenario, I would have given up on him, wouldn't I, for the sake of a happier marriage, a calmer marriage. So I think ultimately that's the important thing. But I had to become a bit of a closet Christian, because I hadn't got the option to talk about these important things with the person I love the most on this earth. It was a no-go. I had to be wise and not do that. But because Ashley allowed me to go to church, there were a group of ladies there who'd faithfully prayed for me, nurtured me in the ways they could, and prayed for Ashley. And that was what sustained me. And I longed for Ashley to become a Christian, but it just seemed to get worse for a long time. It just was awful. But remember, I was at that lovely Christian school where I was teaching, and that was nourishment in itself. So there I was doing a job, but actually being nourished by the staff and a lot of the girls. Children are so open, and little thing, this just popped into my head. I left the school one day to drive home, and I got in my car, and it was the days of smiley faces, and a child had painted a little smiley face, tucked it under my windscreen wipers, saying, "God loves you." And those are the things that really, little things like that really carried me through a lot of years.
Okay.
But I didn't know God was going to bring us through, and that's also important to remember, that you stay with Jesus.
Okay.
You stay with Jesus, however hard it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So you've both made decisions and you've come to faith. Then I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about how following Jesus has worked out in your lives since then.
It was a significant change in my life in many ways. I think, as you probably realised from what I said earlier, I was quite selfish. I think it caused me to look at myself and analyse just what sort of a person I was. So that changed. I used to drink quite heavily. The trade that I was in was, and the sport that I played, was quite a drinking culture. And when I became a Christian, one of the first things that was said to me at one of our large industry dinners by other members of the tyre trade that I was sitting with at this dinner was, "Oh, I suppose you're now that you're a Christian, you're not going to be drinking with us." And so I said, "No, I'll happily have a glass of wine, but it's not going to be the number of glasses of wine it used to be." So that was a significant change. I used to work in our warehouses. The language of the warehouses is not the sort of language that you would like to hear. I was part and parcel of that, so that was a significant change. People had said to me over the years, "Oh, you don't swear," whereas everybody around me would swear. And so it was very noticeable. So a lot of things changed. I became a much more patient person. I think I became a much kinder person. A lot more patient towards other people.
Okay.
As a manager, I was known to be fairly aggressive in my requests and demands and expectations. That changed.
Okay. So it feels like God brought out the best of you and
it changed me completely.
And left the rest. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because those of us who know Ashley, it's difficult to imagine the person that you've described there. It's how you
ask Chris.
Okay. What about for you, Chris? How has it worked out in your life since those points?
Yeah, nothing as dramatic as Ash. I think because part of my journey is to get to know God through his word, get to know Jesus through reading the Bible, and that drip feeds into us and becomes more in our head and into my heart. So a lot of those wonderful attributes that we see in Jesus became more part of me. So I have definitely become kinder, and I think as a teacher, and perhaps I hope still, the sort of second chance. People have a fresh start a bit more with me now than they might have done as children. Their baggage didn't keep going on because God, through Jesus, gave me a fresh start. So I at least owe it to people as far as I can to exhibit that. So, yeah, fresh start and being kind.
I think wonderful. Okay. So everybody who's shared their story on the sofa has been asked to choose a key verse, and we've got them as magnets for you to take away at the end of your event this morning, and you can just pop it on a radiator or wherever you like, and hopefully it will remind you of some of the rich stories that Chris and Ashley have shared with us, as well as the truth that comes from this verse for you, however God speaks to you through this verse. But I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling us which verse you've chosen and why you've chosen it.
So this is a relatively recent verse, and it's from Psalm 18 and it's verse 19. He rescued me because he delighted in me. Now, when I became a Christian, I started to realize that God had rescued me through Jesus dying on the cross. I'm still learning, massively learning the second part, that it's because he delighted in me. He delights in me. So when I mess up still, He still delights in me. And it's nothing to do with all the good things I might or might not do. That isn't what delights God. He rescued me because he delights in me.
Yeah.
For my 60th birthday, one of my colleagues at work arranged for a painting to be done of a number of my favourite things over the years, things that have been sort of quite key in my life. And so we have this painting at home, and there's a section of the Lake District, Brothers Water, which was one of our favourite places at the time. I used to race a car, so there's a picture of the car there. I used to racing a yacht, so there's a yacht on the water. But over the hills is my favourite verse, and that was 7 years ago, and it's still my favourite verse at the moment, and that's Hebrews 12:2, which is, "Fix your eyes upon Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross and sat down at the right hand of the Most High." And there are so many aspects of that verse that just speak so much to me. It comes after the end of Hebrews 11, strange for Hebrews 12, but it comes after the end of Hebrews 11. And so it's almost like there's a therefore, and Hebrews 11 is a great chapter in itself in terms of faith. And fix your eyes upon Jesus, to me that's the message of the whole Bible. The author and perfecter of our faith, the one who started our faith and will complete our faith. Again, there's that whole story of Jesus holding us and keeping us. And then who for the joy set before him endured the cross. And so you think, what was that joy that enabled Jesus to enjoy the cross? And there's so many different aspects as to what that joy was that was going to see Jesus through the pain of the cross. And it's a great verse to meditate on just that one aspect and think, how many different joys can you think of that was going to come to Jesus when he sat down at the right hand? So
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's been so fantastic, hasn't it, to hear that story? So much in there. Thank you so much, guys. Before we wind up, is there anything that you feel that you would just like to finish by saying, or you haven't had a chance to say to us to encourage us maybe?
Yeah. So if there is anybody who is experiencing that journey I had of being a believer, who have a husband, partner who isn't, if you haven't done so already, let people be praying for you and supporting you. It's too big a load to carry on your own. So have that joy of sharing it with other believers.
Thank you.
I never thought I would be a Christian. Look into the Bible open-mindedly. Let it speak to you. Don't go along with preconceived ideas. Let it speak to you and see the truth that's in there, and then make your mind up.
Amen. Thank you. And as I think with all of these stories, we've picked up that for everybody there have been decision points along the way, times when you choose to take another step. And maybe today is a day for you. Maybe like Ashley, you've been quite anti the whole idea of following Jesus. Maybe today is a day for you just to take another step. Ask a question. Open yourself up to God speaking to you. Pray with somebody. Or maybe you've been following Jesus for a little while now, but it's gone a bit cold. It's become a little bit, like Ashley was saying again, a little bit of a hobby maybe, something on the sidelines. Maybe today is a day, like Chris was explaining, to actually realise that it's a relationship that we're stepping into, and to let God, who delights in you, hold you. So if that's you today and you feel something stirring in your heart and something's resonated with you that maybe Chris and Ashley have shared, in a moment we're going to finish with a worship song. And Chris and Ashley and I are going to move over to the corner there. We'd love to pray with you. We'd love to chat with you if there's anything there that you would like to just explore with us. But if you're with us online this morning, please just pop your name in the chat along there. and somebody be really pleased to get that to you. So thank you again once more, guys. It's been fantastic getting to know you a bit more. Thank you for your honesty and for being so open with us about different aspects of your story. And we're going to finish with worship now. So if we'd like to stand and finish with our last worship song, that'd be fantastic. But please carry on the conversations. Come and talk to Chris and Ashley. We'd love to pray with you. Or the person next to you would love to pray with you as well if there's something that they've been said this morning that resonates with you and makes you realise you'd like to talk some more or take a step in following Jesus. Thank you.
Who am I that the highest King would welcome me?
I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me.
Who the sun sets free, always free. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Free at last he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep.
While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me.
Yes, he died for me.
Who the sun sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am.
You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am.
The sun sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. I am who you say I am. I am who you say I am. Yes, I am who you say I am. Who the sun sets free, always free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God, yes I am.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley and Chris and Elaine, just for facilitating that this morning. It's just been so moving to hear. Both stories are quite different. And I think what struck me so much was how God meets us in a personal way for us, doesn't he? You know, Maybe it might be speaking through the scripture and looking at the Bible. Maybe it might be through other people, a combination of those things. But God has a way of coming to us to find us where we are in a way that we can understand, that helps to explain perhaps some of the questions we have, or sometimes put some of those questions aside and really speaks to our hearts. So that's just been so stirring and moving this morning. Thanks so much for your vulnerability in sharing that. Now, we can continue to find out stories, can't we? Just encourage you over the coming weeks as we have time together in fuse groups or in social settings. Why not just ask one another, what's your story? How have you got to the journey where you are now? Because it's just so encouraging to hear different people's stories, and a great way to get to know one another in a deeper way. So just encourage you to do that. Just a few things to share quickly before we close our morning together. Next Sunday, Bank Holiday Sunday, we won't be meeting here, so no meeting next Sunday. So encourage you just to make the most. Hopefully we'll have some good weather, but connect with some other people. Find a chance to be social, whether it's people here or someone you need to catch up with, family, friends, neighbours. Just make the most of that long weekend. But we won't be gathering here next Sunday. But doesn't mean there's nothing happening next weekend. Next Saturday is our final summer social. 3 p.m. is going to be a walk at Wymanley Wood. So it'd be great to see you there. And there's some leaflets at the back with the details on that you can take. Just a reminder, if you're with us on site, to grab your magnets on the way out. And really looking forward to a new theme starting in September. We are looking at the book of James, and the theme is going to be called Real Advice for Real Life. So really looking forward to getting started with that on the following Sunday, Sunday the 5th of September. We'll be back here 10:15 or online 10:20. So if you do have children, please go and collect them from over the road. But have a great week, and we'll see you hopefully next Saturday. Otherwise, Sunday the 5th, we'll be back here.